hangar lights flickered as Commander Jack Rains stepped through the steel doors, his boots echoing against the empty floor. He had just returned from a long patrol beyond the outer rim, expecting only silence and the faint hum of cooling engines. But something was wrong tonight. The air felt heavy, filled with a sharp metallic tang that burned in his nose. The faint scent of ozone and smoke clung to the corners of the vast chamber, as if lightning had struck inside. Jack froze. His hangar was supposed to be empty, his own private refuge after months in hostile space. Yet there, at the far end, sat a vessel he had never seen before. It was not human. Its hull shimmered with a strange blue glow, plates overlapping like the scales of some deep-sea creature. Long wings folded inward, scarred with burn marks and blackened edges. The vessel was small, built for one passenger, maybe two, but the design screamed alien, ancient, dangerous. Jack's instincts tightened like a wire inside his chest. He reached for his sidearm, his hand hovering close but not drawing it yet. Whoever or whatever had brought this ship here had done so without clearance, and without triggering alarms. That fact alone made his skin crawl. Slowly, Jack circled the ship, his footsteps echoing louder than he wanted. He expected to see soldiers waiting in the shadows, or traps ready to spring. But nothing moved. The vessel's hatch was already open, steam curling out in slow white ribbons. His training told him to call command first, to report and wait for orders. But something stronger, some pull deep in his gut, urged him forward. Against better judgment, he climbed inside. The interior was dim, lit only by the fading pulse of alien consoles. Symbols he didn't understand flickered weakly across translucent screens. The walls curved like the inside of a living creature, veins of faint light crawling along the surface. The smell of smoke was stronger here, mixed with something else. Iron and ash. Jack's eyes adjusted, and that was when he saw her. She lay against the far bulkhead, half covered by torn fabric that looked like ceremonial armor. Her form was tall, almost regal, her limbs long and built with strength. Her skin glimmered faintly with scales along her arms and neck, a strange shimmer of silver and crimson. Hair like molten gold spilled across her shoulders, tangled with streaks of dried blood. But what struck Jack most were her features. Sharp, proud, noble, yet softened by exhaustion. She was not human, but she was not fully alien either. She looked like something pulled out of legend, like the stories of dragons dressed in flesh. Her chest rose and fell slowly. She was alive. Jack's pulse quickened. This wasn't just an intruder. This was something. Someone. A survivor. He took a cautious step closer, his hand still near his weapon. Her armor bore marks of battle, slashes from energy blades, burns from plasma fire. Whoever had left her here hadn't done so with kindness. She had been abandoned, thrown away like a broken tool. Before he could react, a sharp buzz rang in his earpiece. His comms lit up with encrypted military orders. A cold voice spoke. Commander Rains, this is Central Command. Do not approach the vessel. Repeat, do not engage. The occupant is classified as hostile. Stand by for retrieval units. Jack's jaw tightened. Hostile? She looked half dead. His gaze flicked back to her, to the faint scars that glowed with hidden power beneath her skin. He couldn't deny she was dangerous, but she was also abandoned, wounded, and alone. Command's voice crackled again, colder this time. Rains, maintain distance. This is not a rescue mission. Secure the hangar and await orders. Failure to comply will be considered direct insubordination. The line went dead. Jack stood in silence, torn between orders and instinct. He had followed the chain of command his entire career, but something about this moment felt different. This wasn't a prisoner of war. This wasn't a weapon shipment. This was a living being left to die in his hangar. He stepped closer, and then her eyes snapped open. They glowed with a fierce amber light, like molten metal trapped beneath crystal. She stared at him, unblinking, her breath sharp as her hand twitched toward her side. Jack froze, his weapon still holstered. Neither moved for a long, heavy moment. Finally, her voice broke the silence, low and cracked. yet carrying a strength that made the hair on his arms rise. "You are not them," she whispered. Jack didn't answer right away. The voice was strange but clear, words bent by an alien accent yet understandable. He swallowed, keeping his tone steady. "No, I'm not." Her gaze darted to the doorway, then back to him. Her breathing was shallow, but her eyes burned with something more than pain. It was fury. "They left me here to die." Jack felt his stomach tighten. He didn't need to ask who they were. Aliens. Whoever she had belonged to, they had abandoned her like cargo. His comms buzzed again, flashing with silent alerts. Retrieval team inbound. 15 minutes. He looked back at her. She was struggling to sit up, her armor scraping against the floor. For a moment, her wings, yes, wings, small but real, folded tight against her back, shifted with a faint ripple of light. Not human, not fully dragon, but something in between. A princess of another world, betrayed by her own kind. Jack's mind raced. If Command got her, she would be locked away in a black site, studied, maybe dissected. He had seen it happen before. But if he helped her, if he even tried, he would be branded a traitor. His career, his freedom, everything would be gone. Her voice broke again, softer this time. "Do not give me back to them." The hangar alarms suddenly blared. Red lights spun across the walls. The retrieval team was already on its way. Jack cursed under his breath, torn between the oath he swore and the voice in his head telling him this was bigger than orders. He watched as she struggled, her strength failing, but her pride unbroken. Her glowing eyes locked onto his with a silent plea. And in that moment, he knew. Jack reached out his hand. "Then you're coming with me," he said. The dragon princess hesitated, her gaze narrowing. Then, with the last of her strength, she placed her clawed hand into his. The hangar doors shook as the retrieval unit's craft began to dock outside. Soldiers were seconds away. Jack tightened his grip, pulling her toward him. "Hold on," he whispered. The ship groaned around them, its strange systems flickering to life as if reacting to her touch. For a heartbeat, Jack felt the air hum with raw energy, like standing inside the throat of a storm. The dragon princess's eyes flared brighter, her voice carrying both anger and sorrow. "They will not forgive this." Jack gave her a grim smile. "Neither will I." Outside, the hangar filled with the roar of engines as armed teams stormed the landing pads. Jack's world had just changed forever, and deep down he knew this was only the beginning. The hangar doors thundered as heavy boots struck the floor outside. Voices barked orders, the retrieval team sweeping in with precision. Commander Jack Rains knew he had seconds, not minutes. The dragon princess leaned heavily on his arm, her body trembling with exhaustion. Her golden hair clung to her face, blood streaking her armor. But her eyes burned bright, refusing to dim. Jack's calm buzzed in his ear again. "Rains, stand down immediately. Secure the alien. Do not resist. This is a direct order." His throat tightened. He could picture them out there, soldiers in black armor, rifles ready, waiting for him to hand her over like cargo. He looked at her, saw the flicker of fear hidden beneath her pride. She had already been abandoned once. If he surrendered her, this hangar would become her prison forever. The decision cut through him like a blade. With one hand, Jack slammed the emergency override on the alien craft's hatch. The door sealed shut with a hiss just as the retrieval team reached the platform. Shouts erupted outside, fists hammering against the hull. Inside, dim blue light pulsed across the walls. Strange symbols bloomed on the consoles, responding to her presence. Jack glanced at her. "Can this ship fly?" Her voice was faint but steady. "If I command it, yes, but it will obey only me." Jack helped her to the pilot's seat, the alien throne rising from the floor as if grown from bone and steel. She sank into it, her wings twitching weakly. When her hands touched the controls, the ship shivered like a beast waking from slumber. Energy hummed through the walls, brighter with each heartbeat. Outside, muffled voices grew sharper. "Stand down, Commander. This is your last warning." Jack strapped himself into a side chair, bracing for what was coming. "We don't have time for warnings," he muttered. The dragon princess whispered something in her language, words heavy with power. The ship roared to life. Panels unfolded, wings stretched outward, and the hangar floor shook. In an instant, the vessel tore free of its moorings and surged forward. The blast threw soldiers across the hangar as the alien ship smashed through the doors and into the night sky. Stars stretched above them. Sirens screamed across the colony outpost below. Defense turrets swiveled, tracking their escape. Bolts of plasma fire cut through the air, searing past the hull. Jack's stomach lurched as the ship twisted sharply, moving faster than any human design. He gripped the armrests. "They're going to shoot us down." Her eyes glowed brighter, her voice low but commanding. "Then let them try." The ship spun, diving between the plasma bursts, its movements impossibly smooth, as if it knew the enemy's aim before they fired. Jack realized she wasn't just flying it. The ship was an extension of her, reacting to her heartbeat, her will. Moments later, they broke free of the colony's defense grid, leaving chaos behind. The stars opened wide around them, silent and endless. Jack exhaled slowly, his pulse still racing. For the first time in hours, there was no gunfire, no alarms, only silence. He turned to her. "You'd better start talking. Who are you? And why did your people leave you in my hangar like a piece of trash?" Her head lifted slowly, pride shining even through her wounds. "I am Kalira, daughter of the crown of Vedrak, princess of the dragon line." Her voice carried weight, each word shaped with centuries of heritage. "And yes, they left me, because I refused to kneel." Jack frowned. "Kneel to who?" Her jaw tightened, her eyes darkening. "To them, to my father, to the council that rules my people with blood and fire. They wanted war with humanity. I did not." The words hung between them, heavy and dangerous. Jack leaned forward, his voice low. "So they threw you away, left you to die on a human colony. Why there? Why me?" Her gaze met his, sharp and unyielding. "Because they wanted you to find me. A test. A trap. If you killed me, you would prove them right, that humans are savages. If you saved me—" She paused, her lips curling with bitter irony. "You would betray your own kind." Jack felt his chest tighten. She was right. Already he had crossed a line. The moment he sealed that hatch, he had branded himself a traitor. His command would hunt him now. He had chosen her fate over orders, and he wasn't sure why. The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of the ship. Finally, Kalira spoke again, softer this time. "But you did save me. Why?" Jack didn't answer right away. He stared out at the stars, trying to find the truth in his own mind. He could have walked away. He could have followed orders. But something inside him refused. Maybe it was her eyes, burning with pride even in chains. Maybe it was the memory of too many broken promises. Too many times he had obeyed only to watch innocence suffer. He looked back at her. "Because you didn't deserve to be left behind. No one does." For the first time, her expression softened. She studied him quietly, as if searching for cracks in his words. Then slowly she nodded. A flicker of trust passed between them. But the moment did not last. A sudden alarm blared across the cockpit. Jack's console lit up red with warnings. Multiple signals closing fast. The retrieval team hadn't given up. They had scrambled interceptors, and they were gaining. Kalira's hands tightened on the controls. "They will not let us go." Jack strapped himself tighter. "Then we fight." Her lips curved in a faint smile, though her eyes burned with sorrow. "No, we survive." The ship plunged into a nearby asteroid field, jagged rocks tumbling around them. Plasma fire streaked past, exploding against the stone. Kalira maneuvered with impossible grace, weaving through narrow gaps, the hull scraping sparks against rock. Jack's knuckles whitened as he gripped the seat. Every second was life or death. But through the chaos, he realized something. She wasn't just running. She was testing him. Every sharp turn, every close call. She watched him, measuring whether he would flinch, whether he would break. And he didn't. When they finally cleared the asteroids, the pursuers were gone, lost in the maze. Silence returned, broken only by the ship's heavy breaths, as if it too was alive and tired. Kalira leaned back, her strength fading again. But her eyes never left Jack. "You are not like the others," she said softly. Jack smirked tiredly. "I hear that a lot." Her gaze sharpened. "Then hear this too. If you stand with me, you will be hunted. By your kind. By mine. There will be no peace. Only war." Jack looked at her for a long time, the weight of her words pressing down like gravity. He had already crossed the line. There was no going back. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm and certain. "Then let's make a deal. I help you survive. You tell me the truth about your people, and why they fear you so much." Kalira studied him for a long moment. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, she extended her clawed hand. "A silent deal," she said. "No words, no binding, only survival, until the stars themselves decide otherwise." Jack clasped her hand firmly, sealing the pact. Outside the viewport, the stars burned cold and endless. Neither of them spoke again, but both knew this was the moment their fates became one. And far away, in the shadows of deep space, fleets were already moving. The hunt had begun. The alien ship drifted in silence, hidden in the cold shadow of a barren moon. Commander Jack Rains sat in the co-pilot's chair, his jaw tight as he scanned the black void. The pursuit had stopped hours ago, but the tension never left. Somewhere out there, human interceptors were combing the sector, searching for him. His own people. Beside him, Kalira sat motionless in the pilot's throne. Her eyes closed, her breathing slow but steady. A faint glow pulsed along her scales, like embers flickering beneath the surface of her skin. The ship seemed to breathe with her, lights dimming and brightening in rhythm with her heartbeat. Jack had never seen anything like it. Human technology was cold, mechanical, but this was alive. He rubbed his temples. He had broken every rule, every order. By now, command had already marked him as a traitor. His face would be on every board, every secure channel. If captured, he would spend the rest of his life in a black cell or worse. But when he looked at Kalira, he felt the weight of his choice all over again. She wasn't just some prisoner. She was something far greater, and she was his responsibility now. Kalira's eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly in the darkness. "They are still hunting us," she whispered. Jack frowned. "You can sense them?" She nodded. "Their ships burn loud in the dark. Human engines scream across the stars. I feel them." Her voice carried no arrogance, just fact. Jack exhaled. "Then we can't stay here. Where can we go?" Kalira's gaze shifted toward the star map flickering across the console. She pointed with a clawed finger at a stretch of empty space beyond the known trade lanes. "Here, the dead zone. No patrols, no colonies, only the wreckage of old wars." Jack studied the map. That sector was avoided by everyone, filled with debris fields, forgotten mines, and navigation hazards. A graveyard of ships. Hiding there would be suicide for most pilots. But maybe not for her. "Fine," Jack muttered. "But once we're there, you tell me everything. No more secrets." Kalira's lips curved faintly. "Agreed." The ship stirred to life, its wings unfolding as it slipped from the moon's shadow. Engines flared, propelling them into the dark. For a moment, it felt like escape. The stars stretched ahead, infinite and silent. But silence did not last. The radar screamed. 3 human interceptors appeared from hyperspace, cutting across their path. Sleek and fast, painted with the silver emblem of Earth's fleet. Jack's heart clenched. His brothers in arms, now hunters. "They've found us," Jack said. Kalira's hands tightened on the controls. "Then we show them we are not prey." The interceptors broke formation, weapons arming. Plasma bolts lit up the void, streaking toward them. Kalira jerked the ship hard to the side, spinning through the firestorm. The alien vessel moved with unnatural grace, weaving like a serpent between deadly blasts. Jack held his breath. "You can't outrun them forever." Her eyes flared. I don't need to. The ship shuddered, and strange runes glowed along the walls. Energy surged through the vessel, a deep vibration building in its core. Jack felt the air grow hot, his skin tingling with static. Kalira, what are you doing? Her voice was low, fierce, calling the fire. Suddenly, the ship unleashed a torrent of burning light, a beam that split across space like dragon's breath. One interceptor was caught in the blaze, its shields tearing apart before the hull exploded in a flash of white fire. Jack stared, stunned. That wasn't a weapon. That was something else. Something alive. The other two interceptors broke off, circling warily. God! Jack muttered. What are you? Kalira's gaze never wavered. I am Vedrak, born of fire, born of crown. My blood is war, but my will is my own. The interceptors moved again, unleashing a rain of missiles. Kalira's ship twisted, diving into a debris field of shattered asteroids. Explosions shook the rocks, fragments spinning past their hull. The alien vessel glided through cracks barely wider than its wings, its skin glowing as if drinking the energy around it. Jack's stomach churned. They'll follow us in. They won't stop until I'm dead. Until you're back in chains. Kalira's eyes narrowed. Then we must teach them fear. The ship spun sharply, turning into the shadows. The interceptors charged after them, blind to the trap. At the last second, Kalira flared the ship's wings, releasing a shockwave of searing light. The nearest asteroid shattered, fragments tearing through the lead interceptor. It vanished in a fiery bloom. The last ship faltered, its pilot panicking. Jack saw the hesitation, the crack in discipline. Kalira saw it too. She whispered in her language, the sound like fire licking stone, and the alien vessel surged forward, locking onto its prey. The final interceptor tried to flee. Too late. The alien ship's claws of energy tore across its hull, ripping it apart in silence. The wreckage spun into the void, swallowed by darkness. Silence returned. The battlefield was theirs. Jack sat frozen, his breath ragged. He had fought in a dozen battles, but nothing, compared to what he had just seen. She had turned their fragile human ships into kindling, wielding power no fleet could match. Kalira slumped in her throne, exhaustion catching up with her. The glow in her scales dimmed, her chest rising and falling heavily. Jack turned to her slowly. That wasn't just the ship. That was you. Her eyes half closed, but she still met his gaze. The ship is bound to me. My blood wakes it. My fire feeds it. Without me, it is only bones. Jack swallowed hard. He understood now why her people had feared her, why they had abandoned her. She wasn't just a princess. She was a weapon, a living weapon who refused to be controlled. And now she was in his hands. Kalira's voice weakened, but her pride remained unbroken. This is why they wanted me dead, because I would not be their sword. I would not burn your kind as they wished. Jack leaned back, staring at the wreckage drifting outside. His own people would never believe her words. They would only see the power she carried, and they would never let her walk free. He rubbed his face, torn between duty and something deeper. Trust. Finally, he said, then you'll have to trust me too. If you want to survive, we'll need each other. Kalira's lips curved in the faintest smile. Trust is fire, can warm, or it can burn. But yes, Commander, for now, we burn together. The ship turned toward the dead zone, engines flaring as they slipped deeper into uncharted space. Behind them, the wreckage of human ships smoldered like dying stars. Ahead, only darkness waited. But Jack knew one thing for certain. This chase was not over. It was only the beginning. The alien ship floated through endless black, hidden inside a graveyard of dead warships. Massive wrecks drifted in silence. Broken hulls, shattered turrets, rusting bones of forgotten battles. Some were human, some alien, most unrecognizable. It was a graveyard of empires, left to rot among the stars. Commander Jack Rains studied the wreckage from the co-pilot's seat, his jaw tight. Every twisted piece of metal reminded him of the price of war. Here, entire fleets had once clashed, and now their remains spun endlessly in the void. A warning carved into silence. Beside him, Kalira sat slumped in her throne, her scales dimmed to a dull glow. She was weak, but her eyes never lost their fire. The ship pulsed faintly around her, alive but drained. The battle had cost her more than she admitted. Jack broke the silence first. "This place is poison. Why bring us here?" Kalira's gaze swept across the field of wrecks. "Because no one dares to follow. Even hunters fear ghosts. Here we can speak freely." Jack leaned back, arms crossed. "Then talk. I've risked everything. My command wants me dead. My own people call me a traitor. And for what? For saving someone who could burn a fleet to ashes with a breath." Her eyes narrowed, but she did not lash out. Instead, she sat straighter, her voice calm but sharp. "You want the truth? Then hear it. My people, the crown of Vedrak, were born to rule with fire. For thousands of years they crushed every rival, enslaved every world. Their blood carries the gift of flame, their ships bound to that gift. But power breeds hunger. When your kind rose from the dirt of earth and reached the stars, my father saw not equals, but prey." Jack's chest tightened. He had seen it before, alien empires mocking humanity, calling Earth fragile, primitive. But hearing it from her lips, from someone born in their throne, cut deeper. Kalira's voice grew heavier, her claws curling against the armrest. "I opposed him. I said humanity would not kneel. I said war would bring ruin to both. For that, they called me traitor. My own father cast me aside. My council voted to abandon me, to prove a point." Jack frowned. "What point?" Her eyes glowed faintly, her face hardening. "That mercy has no place in the crown. That even a princess who dares speak against war is nothing. They left me in your hangar to die, or to spark war between us. Either way, I was erased." The weight of her words filled the ship like a storm. Jack stared at her, trying to imagine the cruelty of a father abandoning his own blood for politics. He had seen commanders sacrifice soldiers, seen governments play games with lives. But this was worse. Kalira's voice cracked for the first time, though her pride held firm. "I am heir no longer. My crown is broken. My people call me ghost, exile, dead in all but flesh." Jack studied her carefully. She was proud, yes, but beneath that pride was a wound no armor could hide. Betrayed not by enemies, but by her own blood. Finally, he spoke. "Then why fight? Why not let it all go?" Her eyes burned, fierce and unyielding. "Because I will not bow. Not to them. Not to anyone. If I must be a ghost, then I will be a ghost with fire. And if they try to burn humanity, I will stand against them, even if I stand alone." Her words echoed in the hollow ship, sharp as steel. Jack leaned forward, his voice low. "You're not alone. Not anymore." Kalira tilted her head, studying him as if measuring his soul. A faint smile tugged at her lips, sad but genuine. Strange words, for a man hunted by his own kind. Before Jack could reply, the ship shuddered. Warning lights flashed across the consoles. The graveyard was not as empty as it seemed. From the shadows of broken battleships, cloaked figures stirred, small, insect-like crafts slithering free of wreckage. Their hulls shimmered with dark light, their movements sharp and deliberate. Jack cursed. "Who the hell are they?" Kalira's expression darkened. "Shadows. Agents of the crown. Spies. Assassins. They hunt me even here." The cloaked ships spread like a net, surrounding them silently. No warnings, no signals, only weapons arming in eerie silence. Jack gritted his teeth. "Your people really don't want you alive." Kalira's eyes glowed hotter, her voice cold as ice. "They fear what I know, secrets of their fleets, weaknesses of their fire. If I live, I am danger to their throne. So they send shadows to finish what my father began." Jack's hands tightened on the console. "Then they'll have to go through me first." The shadows struck. Energy bolts ripped through the dark, cutting toward them with deadly precision. Kalira reacted instantly, her hands gripping the living controls. The ship spun through the wreckage, dodging blasts as debris shattered around them. Jack fired the side cannons, human reflexes adding to her alien grace. Together, they danced through the graveyard, weaving between broken hulls and collapsing turrets. Explosions lit the void, the wreckage turning into firestorms. But the shadows kept coming. Fast, ruthless, endless. Kalira's scales flared brighter, sweat beading across her skin. She unleashed the ship's burning light, tearing one assassin apart in a blaze of fire. Another crashed into wreckage, scattering sparks. But more kept swarming. Jack's stomach knotted. We can't hold forever. They'll pin us down. Kalira's jaw tightened. Then we do not hold. We break. She slammed her claws onto the controls, chanting words in her language. The ship pulsed violently, its core flaring like a newborn star. Energy surged outward, a wave of raw fire that blasted through the graveyard. Wrecks split apart, shadows consumed in flame. When the light faded, silence returned. The graveyard drifted once more, littered with smoking fragments. The shadows were gone. Kalira slumped in her throne, her glow fading. Her chest rose and fell heavily, exhaustion pulling at her. But her eyes still burned with fire. Jack steadied his breath, scanning the wreckage. That blast, it drained you. She nodded weakly. Every fire takes its price. My blood is not endless. He studied her, realizing the truth. She was powerful, yes, but not invincible. Every act of fire cut into her life, her strength. And yet, she fought anyway. Jack leaned closer, his voice steady. Then you can't fight alone. Not anymore. You said your crown was broken. Fine. Let it stay broken. But with me... He paused, the words heavy on his tongue. With me, you're not exile. You're not ghost. You're Kalira. And together, maybe we can burn them back. For a long moment, she stared at him, silent. Then slowly she nodded. Not with arrogance, but with trust. Then together, she whispered. Outside, the wreckage spun quietly, the broken crowns of fallen empires floating in the dark. But Jack knew this was only the start. Kalira's people would not stop. The crown of Vedrak had cast her aside, but they would not allow her to rise again. And now, by choosing her, he had placed humanity in their path. The fire of war was coming. The message came 3 days after the battle in the graveyard. A faint signal carried on encrypted channels, breaking through static like a ghost's whisper. Jack Rains sat in the command chair, staring at the words projected on the ship's console. His blood ran cold. Commander Rains, you are hereby stripped of all rank. You are branded traitor to Earth Command. Stand down immediately or be executed on sight. The message ended with the seal of the Terran High Council. Cold. Final. Jack clenched his fists. He had expected warnings, maybe silence. But this was exile. His own people had cast him aside, the same way Kalira's crown had cast her away. From across the chamber, Kalira's voice broke the silence. They fear you as they fear me. You defy their orders, and so they erase you. Jack's jaw tightened. No, they're afraid of you, of what you represent. To them, you're not an ally. You're a spark waiting to burn down everything. Her golden eyes glowed faintly, sadness flickering behind the fire. Then your people are wiser than mine. At least they see the flame for what it is. Jack turned away, pacing across the deck. If Earth believes I've turned, they'll come for us. And your father's crown won't stop hunting either. We're cornered between two predators. Kalira rose slowly from her throne, her presence filling the chamber like fire spreading through dark wood. Then let us stop running. Let us show them both what fire truly means. Before Jack could respond, alarms blared. The ship's living hull pulsed red, veins of light flickering across its structure. Outside, space rippled with movement. A fleet emerged from the void, sleek Terran warships, their steel bodies glowing under cold stars. At their front flew the TSS Resolute, a dreadnought Jack knew well. His old flagship, his old crew. Jack's stomach twisted. They had come to kill him. Terran fleet inbound, the console intoned. Weapons primed. Kalira's eyes narrowed. Your people waste no time. But before Jack could answer, a second ripple tore open the dark. Another fleet arrived, this one alien, draped in black and crimson. Its ships alive with firelight. The sigil of the crown of Vedrak burned across their hulls. Kalira's face hardened. My father sends his hunters. The two fleets did not fire at each other. Instead, they turned as one toward Jack's lone ship. Humanity and the crown, enemies on paper, united in fear of one thing, her. Jack whispered under his breath. They've made their choice. The chamber trembled as Kalira gripped the controls, her claws sparking against the living veins of the ship. Her scales shimmered, brighter than before, feeding power into the vessel. The ship awakened under her touch, its alien skin glowing like molten steel. Jack moved to the weapons console, his fingers flying across controls he barely understood. We can't fight both. Not head-on. Kalira's lips curved in a grim smile. Then we do not fight head-on. We fight like fire, unpredictable, untamed. The fleets opened fire. Energy beams cut across the dark, missiles streaking like falling stars. The graveyard of silence became a battlefield of light and death. Kalira spun the ship, weaving through the storm. Jack returned fire, unleashing plasma bursts into the path of incoming missiles. Wreckage from the graveyard exploded around them. Fragments of dead ships turned into shields. The Terran dreadnought advanced, its cannons unleashing devastating blasts. At the same time, the Crown's cruisers unleashed streams of burning plasma, their weapons born of Kalira's same bloodline. Jack cursed, sweat running down his face. They're trying to crush us together. Hurt us. They'll finish it with one final strike. Kalira's eyes burned with defiance. Then let us make them strike each other. Her hands moved with blinding speed, guiding the ship into the crossfire. Beams from the Terran dreadnought met plasma from the Crown cruiser, colliding in an explosion that shook the void. The fleets hesitated, their fire cutting across each other in confusion. Jack seized the moment, targeting a Terran frigate caught in the chaos. His shots ripped through its engines, sending it spiraling into a Crown destroyer. The collision erupted in a firestorm that lit the battlefield. The fleets faltered, their unity cracking. Kalira's voice thundered. Let them taste their own fear. Let them see that fire does not bow. Her power surged through the ship, her body glowing like molten stone. The living vessel roared forward, ripping through the battle lines. Jack unleashed every cannon, every missile, every ounce of defiance he had left. Together they carved a path through giants. But every victory had a price. The ship shook violently, its veins flickering as its core drained. Kalira swayed, her strength bleeding into the vessel. Her chest heaved, her scales dimming with every blast. Jack steadied her, gripping her arm. You'll burn yourself out. Her eyes met his, fierce but fading. Better to burn than to kneel. The ship tore through the final blockade, emerging from the battlefield into open space. Behind them, the Terran fleet and the Crown's hunters clashed in chaos, turning on each other in the storm they had created. But the cost was clear. Kalira collapsed into her throne, her glow nearly gone. The ship drifted, weak but alive. Jack stared at her, his heart pounding. We can't keep running like this. They'll never stop. Not Earth. Not the Crown. They've already chosen war. Kalira's voice was faint, but sharp as steel. Then let war come. But this time, the fire will not be theirs alone. Jack turned toward the stars, his fists clenched. Humanity had been dragged into a war not of its choosing. The Crown had betrayed their own princess. Earth had betrayed its own commander. Now both would pay the price. And in that moment, Jack knew the truth. This wasn't just Kalira's fight anymore. It was his. It was humanity's. The war had begun. Not by empires, not by councils, but by a single abandoned princess and the human who refused to let her burn alone. The alien ship drifted silently across the edge of a red dwarf system, its living hull still scarred from battle. Inside, The air was thick with the smell of smoke and burning metal. Commander Jack Rains sat in the cockpit, staring at the stars as if waiting for them to answer. Behind him, Kalira rested in her throne, her golden eyes dim, her body weakened from the fight. Yet even in weakness, she looked unbroken, like a flame burning low but never extinguished. For days they had evaded hunters. Terran patrols scoured every sector, broadcasting his name as a traitor. The Crown's assassins stalked the dark, swearing to drag their lost princess back in chains. Everywhere they turned, enemies closed in. Jack leaned forward, his jaw tight. They won't stop. Not Earth. Not your father. If we keep running, they'll bleed us dry. Kalira's voice was faint but sharp. Then we do not run. We burn. Her words lingered in the silence. Jack turned, studying her carefully. She was pale, her scales dull, but her eyes held fire. A fire not of survival, but of destiny. He stepped closer. What are you saying? Kalira straightened in her throne, summoning the last of her strength. There is a place, the Ember Forge. It is where my bloodline was born, where the fire that binds our ships to our souls was first kindled. If I reach it, I can awaken the forge. With it, I can turn every flame against the crown. Jack frowned. And what about Earth? They already see me as a traitor. If we light that fire, they'll see it as war. Kalira's lips curled into a grim smile. It is already war. Earth fired first. The crown betrayed me first. They chose their path. Now we choose ours. Jack stood in silence, the weight of her words pressing down. She was right. The war had already begun. His command was gone. His people had branded him traitor, and every star in the galaxy carried the crown's wrath. There was no going back. Finally, he nodded. Then let's finish this. The Ember Forge was not marked on any chart. It existed only in whispers, hidden deep inside the ruins of an ancient star. When their ship arrived, the system glowed like an open wound. Flaring suns, broken moons, rivers of fire spilling across black space. At its heart was the forge, a colossal structure of stone and steel, older than any empire, pulsing with molten light. It looked less like a machine and more like a living heart, beating slowly, radiating waves of heat strong enough to rattle the ship's bones. Jack whispered under his breath, "Hell itself." Kalira rose, her scales shimmering faintly in the glow. "No, this is where my people were born, where fire first chose us." As the ship descended, alarms blared. Fleets emerged from the shadows, Terran warships on one side, Crown dreadnoughts on the other. Both had followed them here. Both wanted the forge. Jack gritted his teeth. "They're not going to let us touch it." Kalira placed her clawed hand on his shoulder, her voice steady. "Then they will burn trying." The battle exploded the moment the first shot fired. Terran cannons lit the void with beams of steel-blue light. Crown cruisers answered with rivers of flame, the clash shaking the entire system. Between them, Jack and Kalira's lone ship darted through the storm. Jack fired everything the vessel had, his human instincts turning desperation into precision. Kalira fed her strength into the living hull, her body glowing brighter as the ship roared with power. Together, they carved through enemy lines like a blade through cloth. But the fleets were vast. Too vast. For every ship they downed, 10 more closed in. Jack cursed under his breath. "We won't make it." Kalira's voice rang like steel. "Then we make the forge choose." The ship plunged toward the Ember Forge, weaving through the chaos. Enemy fire rained down, explosions tearing across the void. At the forge's heart, a massive gate of molten metal pulsed with light, waiting. Kalira rose from her throne, every scale blazing with fire. Her voice thundered, ancient words spilling from her lips in the language of her bloodline. The forge responded, the gate opening slowly, spilling rivers of molten energy into space. The fleets faltered, terrified. Some pulled back. Others pressed forward, desperate to stop what was awakening. Jack steadied the controls. "Kalira, what happens when it opens?" Her eyes burned, brighter than he had ever seen. Then fire itself answers. The forge erupted. A wave of molten light surged outward, swallowing the battlefield. Terran ships were torn apart in seconds, their steel melting like wax. Crown cruisers burst into flames, their engines consumed by the very fire they once wielded. Through it all, Jack and Kalira's ship alone endured, wrapped in a shield of her own fire. She stood tall, her body glowing like a star, her voice carrying across the storm. No more crowns, no more thrones. Fire belongs to none. It answers only to the free. Her roar shook the forge itself, and the wave expanded, tearing through every fleet in sight. Dreadnoughts shattered. Cruisers broke apart. Warships of Earth and the Crown alike became ash in the storm. When the firestorm ended, silence fell. The forge dimmed, its power spent, leaving wreckage drifting quietly in its orbit. The great fleets of two empires were gone. Only one ship remained. Theirs. Jack stood in silence, his chest heaving, his eyes locked on the ruins. Two mighty powers, shattered in one breath. Kalira slumped back into her throne, her glow fading. She was alive but barely. Her fire had burned everything she had left. Jack knelt beside her, gripping her hand. "You did it. You ended it." Her voice was weak, but steady. "No, I began it. From this day, both Earth and the Crown will call us enemies. But let them come. Fire does not kneel." Jack squeezed her hand tighter. "Then they'll have to face us together." For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Outside, the forge flickered faintly, its flames settling into quiet slumber. The battlefield was nothing but drifting wrecks and cooling ash. But Jack knew this was not the end. This was the beginning. Earth would not forgive him. The Crown would never forgive her. But maybe, just maybe, the galaxy would remember. They were no longer commander and princess, no longer exile and traitor. They were something new. They were fireborn, and their legacy was only beginning.